What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Morgan, True Crime and Mystery. I hope you all had a wonderful Mother's Day. Today's video, we're going to be going over one of the most well-known mother haters, Gypsy Rose, and her latest episode of Gypsy Rose Life After Lockup. And of course, with it being Mother's Day, it's incredibly fitting that the title of this episode is I'm Not a Monster, when we are all pretty much well aware by now that Gypsy is in fact a monster. And in this episode, we kind of see a little bit into Gypsy's start of her own motherhood journey, and shocker, she's really not enjoying it. But before we get into all of that, I want to first say don't forget to subscribe and make sure your notifications are turned on so you can keep up to date with anything I've got coming out on my channel. I want to give a few super thanks shout outs, specifically to Grandma Gwen Penguin. Thank you again, Gwen. Claire Power SV9MT, Charborn1, and Amanda Reed-GR7. Thank you guys, each of you, for gifting me with a super thanks, and to each of you that are supporting me and my channel by sharing or subscribing. All of it helps, and I appreciate it so very much. But let's go ahead and get into this latest episode of Gypsy Rose Life After Lockup. So this episode is picking up right after Gypsy is leaving the hospital after giving birth to the baby. And I want to start off this video by kind of giving a little bit of a PSA that this episode kind of touches on the subject of postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. Please be aware that when I am speaking about something, it is not a general assumption about every single person that's ever given birth ever. This is specifically about Gypsy, including, what I've seen of her past. It is not meant to, offend anybody that has struggled with postpartum depression, because that is incredibly serious. And so just remember, when we're talking about this, separate yourself. This is not meant to anybody else. This is just based on what I see in the episode. So just to get that out of the way and clarify that. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the episode.
If Ryan had come to the hospital, he could have signed the paternity test stuff, but his mother had expressed to me that that would be too emotionally hard on him. So on her birth certificate, she is listed as Aurora Raina Anderson, and Ryan is listed as the father currently.
You're home now. Thanks for the sister, bud. Thanks for the sister.
Gypsy and Ken are getting home, and they are greeted by Ken's mom, which this is something that we already knew at this point because Raina was on Sir Morbid's panel, if you guys remember, a while back, as well as Ken. Raina essentially said that Gypsy was doing great as a mother. She didn't really want any of her help as much as she tried to offer assistance to Gypsy. Gypsy was very much, I've got it, no problem. No, you don't need to do this for me. Blah, 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 right? That doesn't come through in this episode. It's very much, nobody's helping me. Nobody's doing anything. I feel like I'm figuring this out all alone. And that's really not the case. Obviously, Raina stayed there for a week for Gypsy, and that's more than a lot of people have. That is a very, very generous offer to stay with somebody, allowing them to shower or whatever, especially in that first week, because, things aren't always fun in that first week after giving birth.
Another thing y'all need to be prepared for is the dates with the baby coming so early.
Which is why I wanted to wait, because, I feel like they're going to be like, it's Ryan's baby, and until
they're only going to be saying that. They're going to be saying, we told you.
It's already been proven that this is my child.
100%.
So people are going to say it's Ryan's baby 10 years from now. It's not going to matter. These people don't care about facts and logic and reason. They care about their drama and their gossip and their bull.
I'm just saying to be prepared for the backlash of...
I get backlash constantly. I feel like I'm the only one that's accepted that reality, that the backlash will never end. It's going to be a lifelong experience at this point.
I don't feel a need to gloat or be like, I had my baby. That is, I don't care. And I don't know why you do.
We can kind of see Ken getting a little irritated, and this has been an issue in their relationship, with Gypsy controlling what Ken can and can't do in his real life based on what Gypsy wants to portray and put out into the media. She plans her whole life based on what she's going to be putting out onto social media or the big media outlets like People. And first of all, Ken, I don't know who you're yelling at. You better chill and bring your tone down when you're talking to your mama, because no, calm down. But he obviously is getting upset because he wants to be able to live his life the way that he wants to and not have all these restrictions on him. So, I mean, I get that to a point, but I feel like Gypsy's just using this as a way to go against it. I don't think she actually genuinely deep down didn't want to announce it. Gypsy just doesn't give me that vibe, and we've seen that. She's very much reaching out. She'll reach out to TMZ or People or whatever. So it's kind of funny watching Gypsy pivot to go completely back on what she has always done in the past.
So Aurora had her first checkup today, and while we were in town, we decided to pop in to cut off and see Rod and Chrissy for New Year's Eve.
She's so perfect. How much she's weighing?
She's a little over 5 pounds. Are you ready yet to announce, or you want to wait a little bit?
Wait.
Enjoy the peace.
I've only told my family, but now I'm having friends reach out to me. Hey, has she been born yet? And it's like I'm ignoring them.
You can tell friends.
Okay.
You tell your people now. All I said was I don't want you or me or anybody to reach out to mainstream.
No, I wasn't going to do that.
Tell your friends.
The most I was going to do is just post an Instagram story or something like that.
She wants to shout it from the rooftops.
Like that picture that picture that I showed you of like us on the hospital bed where you can't even see Aurora's face, you just see us looking at her.
I found the whole scene a little bit weird. Ken is just basically, if I'm listening to him, I would assume he just wants to make the announcement like a normal person would on social media, but for whatever reason, Gypsy's mind is automatically going to like People Magazine, TMZ, and stuff like that. But when Gypsy was like, I don't want to gloat and say, oh, I had my baby, I don't care, I found that a little bit odd. It kind of struck me a little bit, and I don't know, it just came across weird. It just doesn't seem like she's excited that she actually gave birth or that the baby is there. I feel like everyone has said this, but she only got pregnant for the hopes of having the attention on her for being pregnant. And now that the baby's here, all that attention's going to shift to the baby. And she doesn't really want that. And that's not something that she's clearly going to be able to handle, as you see throughout the episode.
Oh my God.
This is mine. To hold a grandchild and know that you got some blood in there. Just knowing that she's going to be loved and I'm going to be part of her life. It's just a really good feeling knowing that I feel like I have a second chance to be part of Gypsy's life by being part of Aurora's life with her and watching her grow. When I'm sitting there holding her and Gypsy's watching me, I kind of deep down and feel like she's looking at me and say, well, where were you for me? And that hurts a little bit. I left before she was born, so I don't remember much. There's nothing I can do about that, but be there now for her. And I can tell she knows I'm really trying.
So they go to the first doctor's appointment. Everything's good. Good for them. They stop at cutoff to visit Christy and Rod. And I find Rod saying that he, in his mind, for whatever reason, feels that Gypsy is looking at him and judging him. Like, why weren't you there for me? And I don't know if that's just because it's something like internal with Rod thinking that, or if Gypsy has given him a reason to think that based on previous behavior. Is this something Gypsy has brought up? Because we know she retaliates, that's very clear. Is this something that she has thrown in Rod's face as she's been living with them to kind of guilt trip them or something like that? That just struck me as very weird that he would be thinking that Gypsy's sitting there judging him and essentially jealous of the baby instead of, happy that this is a moment of getting to bond and be with the child and have a grandfather figure in her life. I found that a little bit weird.
When did you hear that Gypsy had the baby? How did that happen?
Well, the morning she had the baby, I got a call from her dad, and it was just odd. I was in bed and I heard my phone ring. I looked over after the fact, and I saw it was him, and I knew something was up. No reason Rod should be calling me. I knew that she was getting close. Just knew. I didn't call him back. I didn't need to. I already knew what I was planning on doing. I didn't plan on going there. Gypsy was told by her lawyer that Ken could be on the birth certificate if I did things to help that process. But, I'm not going to drive 3.5 hours there and then sign something in 3.5 hours back. I'm just not. She ended up texting me later that day and told me about the baby and how much it weighed and, her name and stuff like that. So, Gypsy contacted me the day the baby was born. Yeah, I'm sure behind Ken's back. I realized how early Aurora was. You do the math. It's too close for comfort. if the baby was born on January 22nd, I wouldn't be this concerned. If the baby came out full with a full head of hair and full baby, I mean, it makes you wonder.
So then we're flipping over to Ryan, and they're asking how Ryan found out about Gypsy having the baby. He says Rod called him at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna give a guess that it was probably Gypsy who told Rod to call Ryan with hopes that he would be driving over there or something, because then Gypsy later on texts Ryan anyways, the day of birthing the baby, when she's well aware that Ryan already said that he wasn't going to be doing it because Ryan's mother made it very clear that that's not what he wants to do. It's not good for him emotionally, but Gypsy's still texting him all the details of a child that is not his. She wanted to make it very clear that that was not his child. It enraged her to the fact that Ryan even considered it was his child. And that's why she had to go to the magazine and say that being in bed with him was horrible and she didn't enjoy any moment of it. But now she's texting him pictures of another man's baby. That is weird. That is strange to me. That is not something that I would be thinking about after giving birth to my child. That's just not normal behavior. And again, that just shows you how calculating she really is. Oh, sorry, baby, mommy's busy pitting two men against each other so they can fight over me. Not even on the day of your child's birth, you're still worried about playing your games. It's crazy. But Ryan is well aware of the fact that Gypsy is manipulative enough to mess up a DNA test. Obviously, he doesn't 100% trust the fact that it came back as Ken's. So why is he still pursuing a relationship with somebody that he can't trust whatsoever? Obviously, she cheated on him, but enough to even prove whether or not that's his child, he still doesn't trust her, yet he still craves that relationship with her. It's something else.
Back to the full-time schedule. For now, Gypsy can be with Aurora here for hopefully a few more days before she has to go back to cutoff. And then I'll be home at night.
The hiccup's settled.
Good. All right, I'm going now.
All right, you still share your location with me on Okay.
Love you.
Good.
Love you.
Please
Love
be
you.
safe.
All right.
Don't forget to text me whenever you're about ready to get off.
Okay, I will.
The first 5 days, Ken's mom came in town and helped us transition, and that helped a lot. But then after that 5 days, it was just us. There's a lot of things that got thrown at me all at once. You Google something, can a baby do this? Can a baby do that? Is it okay to put a baby laying on their side? Do it this way, do it that way. It became overwhelming, and so for about 2 days, I just felt the urge to cry.
I know a lot of people pointed out that it was weird that Gypsy wanted Ken's location. She wanted him to text her as soon as he was about to get off work. And, you know, typically, if it was anybody else, I wouldn't really think anything of it. But just knowing what we know and how Gypsy continued to contact Ryan and was running back and forth to Ryan and Ken, it's clear that she's just doing that so she knows where he's at and he won't pop up on her when she's not expecting it. And it's not anything to do with, a safety concern, how it would apply in, a normal couple, just in case something happens type of thing. It's more so Gypsy can have control and know what he's doing. That way she can do whatever she wants to do on the side. Which, again, Gypsy accuses Ken of doing weird stuff because he's on his phone late at night. So she's projecting all of this stuff that she does onto Ken, and it's really crazy just watching it play out. Gypsy is sitting there saying she had all of these things thrown at her as if none of these were consequences of her own deliberate, very calculated actions. She purposely got pregnant when she did on the first time being with Ken. Ooh, shocker. All these things are thrown at her like she had nothing to do with it. Again, that's that victim mentality. All this stuff is being thrown at me that I didn't ask for when you made sure it happened.
I didn't realize how much it was going to affect me until I had her and I was holding her. And then I started to realize, wow, I really truly understand now how wrong it is, how wronged I was for my mom to do this. I can't stand it whenever I'm making her a bottle and she's crying for a minute and a half. I can't stand it. I'm I want to comfort her. I want to make it all better. And so, knowing that my mom was in the room with me when I was screaming in pain after a surgery or a procedure or a test, and I'm how? I would say a mother is a protector. It's being the person that you need to be in order for you to raise what is essentially a fresh start.
she truly understands now how wronged she was by the fact that whenever Aurora cries for 1 minute while she's making a bottle, she can't handle it. And then she brings up the fact that her mother was just totally cool with Gypsy waking up from a surgery screaming in pain. So now we've got another lie thrown in there that Gypsy would wake up from surgery screaming in pain, as if what doctor would allow that to happen? A child just to sit there screaming, especially a child that is, you know, perceived to be disabled. That would not happen. And which one was it? Out of all the like very minor surgeries that she had, so dramatic, always the victim, always making things about her. Can't even focus on her baby long enough because she's got to circle it right back to herself and her own victimhood and make up new scenarios. If you read through the medical records, you can tell that every time Gypsy woke up from a surgery, the worst it said was facial grimacing. Never any screaming in pain. They do check on you as soon as you wake up from surgery. They are very much on top of it. They're not just going to let you in there screaming in pain and suffer. She's so ridiculous, and she just does the most for every situation and makes up situations that never happened. And now that she's got a baby, she's not getting it as much, and it's driving her insane.
I know the things that I'm responsible for, such as feeding her and changing her, but also, like, I literally, like, while you guys were on lunch, I had, like, another breakdown. I'm sorry, I'm putting all of this effort in. And I had been hit with the question, how are you going to tell your daughter about what you did? And I just want to know that she's going to love me and forgive me for what I did in my past. I just don't want that to, like, cloud her mind and her end up hating me. I'm not a monster. And I don't want her to grow up thinking that I'm one.
So convenient for Gypsy to have a breakdown the second that people leave her, the moment she's alone with the baby, because she's finally realizing, like, oh, I actually have to care for somebody other than myself. Because obviously Ken's mom was there for 5 days, probably a week, and so she's on her first day or two of being alone and she can't handle it. It's not so much anything to do with the baby. I think it's the fact that she can't handle being alone because she needs constant validation. She needs people taking care of her. And it's like, duh. That's why you don't have a baby when you are not responsible enough to have one. When you're not mature enough to take care of yourself, do not add a baby. Don't do it. Like, Gypsy really didn't realize that when you do have a child, all of your wants and needs take a back seat because that child did not ask to be here. They didn't do anything. You did everything that caused that child to be born. So therefore, it is your responsibility to make sure that child is taken care of in the best way possible. But it's like she didn't get that. And when she's sitting there saying she's putting in this effort, and again, it's like within the first week, I found that phrasing a little bit weird. She's putting in the effort to take care of the child, as if I'm doing all this hard work, and what if it doesn't even pay off? Because the only thing, I guess, that matters to her is that her child, I don't know, that just struck me really weird. I don't understand what she was getting at when she was trying to say that, as if it's like a burden or something. I'm not sure, like she's gonna be putting all this work into this child, and what if it just ends up not even liking her anyway? And I don't think that's how you should really view your relationship with your child. I don't know, it was just really weird to me. But, you know, that's Gypsy for you. That's all she's concerned about in all areas of her life, is how much people love and pay attention to her. Whether they like you or not, if you raise a good child, you know, you've done your job. You have to make a good person. And if you're doing your best, most of the time the child's not going to hate you unless you do something really, really bad. But Gypsy, we've all seen that she hasn't changed her behaviors. So, I mean, it's not looking great.
If you put them in a swing for too long, it leads to SIDS. This leads to SIDS. That leads to SIDS. You know, I'm like, if I do this, she could die. If I do that, she could die. And I'm just bawling.
Yeah, the pressure of all of it is kind of a lot. Is to have this little person that's totally dependent on you, and the pressure to, like, get it all right all the time.
I mostly do the night shift. I get up every 2 hours. When the day starts, I'm good. Like, I feel energetic, positive. But when it starts to get more towards nighttime, because it's so unpredictable, I'm kind of like anxiety because I don't know, is she going to be gassy? Is she going to be fussy? Is she going to not want to be in the bassinet? Am I going to get 6 hours of sleep? Am I going to get 4? Am I going to get 2? I think the thing for me is, like, my whole life, I hadn't had any responsibility. I hadn't had a job. I hadn't, had anything to hold me accountable. Having this baby that's solely dependent on me, I'm like, I want to be my best self for her, but I also want to be my best self for me.
Now that there's an innocent life who didn't ask to be here is taking away attention that she feels entitled to, it's a big, huge issue for her. She feels entitled to all the attention from everybody that is around her, and that's not right. I'm glad Gypsy's writing motivational, phrases on her whiteboard while she's actively, essentially cheating on Ken by texting Ryan, 50% you, 50% me, 100% Aurora. We are a team. You're actively talking to another man behind your baby daddy's back, who you cheated with on the husband that you're now talking to. Go team. And Gypsy is sitting there and talking about how she struggles with the night shift. And it's almost like everybody and their dog told Gypsy Rose that she was not ready for a child. So crazy that Gypsy's realizing, maybe I wasn't ready for a child, with the fact that I've never had a single responsibility in my life ever. Who thinks that's a good idea, to have zero responsibility? She got a dog, couldn't even keep it for 2 weeks before she abandoned that. But yeah, it's a good idea to bring a living child into the world. And she's totally ready for that. She knows she wasn't ready for it, and she didn't care because the benefits of keeping Ken connected to her outweighed the actual work of having to raise a child. But it's just when you're so used to being incredibly selfish, why would you think that you are remotely capable of taking care of a baby? Because at that point, you have to be selfless in every aspect of your life. There is no more anything about you, because you have to ensure that that child is taken care of and its needs are met. And it's not just feeding and changing a diaper. There is so much more that goes into parenthood, and I guess Gypsy didn't read her What to Expect When You're Expecting books very well, because she was probably too busy just taking the selfies with the book to actually read what goes into having a child. She was in love with the idea of being pregnant and the attention going to her and the idea of being a mother, so that way she could A, trap Ken forever and not allow him to leave her for at least 18 years, and probably having someone to love you unconditionally, because children do tend to do that to their parents, even as cruel as they can be. They do love their parents. But it's oh, wait a minute, I have to actually put something back into this child that I created? Didn't really think that one through.
I'm feeling good postpartum so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just let me know what I can do to help you. I know that I work and sleep. I'm at work.
Work and sleep.
Work and sleep. And then, but in the daytime before I go to work, just let me know if there's more that I can do.
I can't always hold her. I can't always, be that, only person taking care of her. So, it does help to have.
Well, even you haven't been. I've been
I know.
pretty big part of helping take care of it.
I know. I'm not saying that you haven't been. I was just saying that, if I was, that would be really hard. So,
right.
I just feel like I've been trying to figure it out all on my own.
I want to be there just as much as you want me there.
Yeah.
So, we'll get through this next few months. You're never not going to have me.
No.
Conversation with Ken that Gypsy is having, where he's asking her, do you need anything? Is there anything I can help you with? And she's literally sitting there I can't hold her all the time by myself. I can't do everything by myself. And he just is you don't. She's yeah, I know, but what if I did? I thought that was so funny, because why are you even bringing that up? That's if you're not doing all that, why are you even saying that? But it's basically because she wants to let onto the camera that she's doing all of this and she has all this pressure on her, when she has way more help than a good majority of people have ever had in their life. She had Raina staying there for that first week. She's got Ken there actively helping with the baby, except when he's at work. Christy is there if she needs her. He's asking her what she needs, and she's being dishonest about what he already helps with. So I don't know where she expects that conversation to go. If you're going to sit there and act like he does it zero, that's not going to go anywhere. You could say you need extra help in this area or this area and be honest about it. But whenever you're being dishonest about what he's actually helping with, why are we making up pretend scenarios about what you do? And then she wants to get mad at him whenever he's not responding. Well, what's he supposed to do? Respond to a made-up scenario? That doesn't even make any sense. And if you were listening whenever she was talking to the doula, she was talking about her fears, like, what if the baby doesn't want to be in the bassinet? It's like holding the baby is like an issue for her. She doesn't want to be tied to the baby. She doesn't want to have to hold her. And she's even commented this before on Instagram, like, oh, what am I expected to do? Just hold her all the time by myself and never let her visit with family? She's very like, there's something about not wanting to hold the child for some reason that she takes issue with. I mean, I was the type I didn't ever want to put my baby down. You know, I still did, of course, because things had to be done. But a good majority of mothers love holding their babies and snuggling their babies. And they only do it whenever it comes to the point where they kind of have to. So it's just like, she feels like she's being forced to hold her own child. And I feel like that's pretty strange that she feels like that. Like it's a chore almost to have to hold her own child and comfort her child.
He's gonna be there.
I think that Ken, he has been so busy at work and he has a lot going on that he's here physically and gone emotionally. And I feel it.
I know it's gonna be a strenuous 5 months ahead, but we're both gonna have it behind us before we know it, I promise.
Yeah.
Time is flying, and it'll continue that way.
I am trying to have better communication with Ken. Sometimes I will say how I feel and maybe not get the response that I'm looking for or the level of comfort that I'm looking for. That's just how it is.
What happens when you don't get the kind of level of comfort that you're looking for? What do you do?
I'll start to self-isolate even more. It's more of like a self-protection, like a wall. And that way it's kind of like, okay, I put you on the other side of the wall. That way you can't hurt me.
Are you feeling okay? Okay.
And Gypsy's feeling like he's gone emotionally because, oh, shocker, he has a child now and he's shifting some of that attention to the baby, the one that needs it more. I'm sure he's obviously asking Gypsy what she needs if she's okay. So why is she feeling like he's gone emotionally? He's trying to ask I don't know what she was expecting in that moment, making up, pretend scenarios or whatever. She's looking for people to compliment her and admire her, and that's why she does what she does later on in the episode with Ryan. And Gypsy doesn't self-isolate whenever she's mad at Ken not reacting in the way that she wants him to react. Because, first of all, self-isolation doesn't mean you go text another man. That's like the opposite of self-isolating. She probably ignores Ken and runs to another guy, but that's not self-isolation. She's giving him the silent treatment and giving him a punishment for not behaving or acting in the way that she expects him to act, as if he's not his own personal human being himself. She just wants somebody there to compliment her and boost her own self-esteem. Gypsy doesn't realize that she has not done it alone whatsoever. She's very, very lucky to have a village like she does. She has quite a few people there to help her. Like I said, with Ken's mom, Raina, helping her, Christy's there, Ken's there, all of those people are there to help her at any moment in time should she need it. And she's only alone with the baby for a few hours in the day when Ken's working. Dang, whenever I had my baby, my mom's dead, my dad moved out of the country, my son's father, his mom's dead, and his dad abandoned him as a child, and I lived in an apartment on the 5th floor with outdoor stairs. So I was walking up and down all them steps every day, getting my son to all the appointments and doing all that I needed to while he was working. So that's not fun. So she doesn't even realize how good she's got it, having so many people available to help her at any given moment. But again, that's not enough for her because they're there willing to help with the baby. And she's just not used to having the attention away from her.
This is going to be my first day back in cutoff with Aurora without Ken.
It's not fulfilling knowing that I can't help Gypsy with all the things that she needs help with, I know she's got Christy now, but it's, I don't know how to describe it. It's just feeling.
Alright. Well, now, Peter, you want me to? Alright. With Ken, and there is that level of emotional need that is not being met. And I kind of push away if it's not being met. My greatest fear is that Ken will get tired of it. He will get tired of how emotionally taxing I am.
Try not to fall asleep with her in the bed.
I know, I never do.
You did last night.
I did last night because she was on my chest.
I know. Okay, I love you.
Gypsy feels like her emotional needs aren't being met, and so in turn she pushes Ken away whenever she's not getting what she's, I guess, looking for. And she already is well aware that Ken could possibly get tired of her emotional neediness, as she said, because it's a little bit much. And the fact that she's well aware of that, it's pretty clear that she does it purposely, because she said that in the past. If you've ever watched the Nick Viles podcast, when she was there with Ryan, they sit there and talk about all the games and ways that she would manipulate and hurt Ryan and push him and push him and push him to get him to leave. Constant test after test after test to see how far she could push somebody to their limits. So this is something that's not unusual with her. She likes to poke at people and make sure she wants to drive people to their limits to see how far and what she can get away with. She wants to hurt people. She wants to run over people. She drains them. She is an energy vampire. She sucks the life out of people just because she can, just to see how close to the edge she can get.
And Gypsy started texting, didn't I?
Yeah. I mean, she can't just keep stringing you on. She wanted to see if you would reply and see if you were with somebody. She don't want you to move on. She's just trying to keep you in that coat pocket.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. But you can't let her do that either, because then...
Then I'm the one that hurts you.
Well, again, she'll do it again. That's the thing. You let somebody do something to you once, they'll do it to you again. And you need to find what you want and find what you need, find what is best for you. You wanted a kid with her, and she chose to not have that kid with you and chose to have it with somebody else. That's freaking closure.
Good call.
I think she has feelings for him. I mean, why would she message him otherwise? She's trying to keep that little bit of line of communication open. I don't know what for. I don't think he knows what for. I don't know if she knows what for. And that's kind of the issue they have. That's why my advice to him is always just cut it off.
That's the thing that bothers me so much, Jacob, is that when we talk on the phone, man, it's still there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a part of accountability. At some point, you got to be just accountable for what you do.
Right.
So Ryan Anderson is obviously out with his buddy talking about Gypsy, and he brings up that him and Gypsy have started talking again, and his friend's trying his best to be like, dude, come on, cut it off. He's giving him advice. You don't know what she wants. She doesn't know what she wants. But I'm pretty sure they're all very well aware that Gypsy's only wanting to play games and help her own ego and get compliments from Ryan because Ken isn't complimenting Gypsy enough. She's using Ryan to make herself feel better.
Our relationship was us bonding on the phone. Think of talking to somebody 3.5 hours every day. You know, you get used to that communication. And, you know, I miss her voice. Her voice did it for me. So, and I know she likes my voice. She said I sound like Luke Combs. I still hear Gypsy's voice and it makes me melt. All right. I still see her picture. I love her as a brunette. It makes me melt. It does. So it's just one of those, like, I'm trying. I get what I need to do, but Gypsy's still the most beautiful woman in the world to me.
I thought it was kind of interesting that Ryan said Gypsy liked Ryan's voice because it sounds like Luke Combs. And it's like, didn't Gypsy post multiple videos of her and Ken dancing to Luke Combs songs in the past? So there it is again. Gypsy's making their Ken and Gypsy's couple songs a dig at Ryan. If she said in the past that she likes Ryan's voice because it sounds like Luke Combs, why is she dancing to Luke Combs with Ken and posting him online? Again, a manipulative tactic that she does. She does these little things that a good majority of us obviously aren't going to notice, but she's directing it to him, to hurt him.
Last night I had a conversation on the phone with Ryan. I called him because I just really wanted to have like a clarity of what we were looking at for the rest of the paternity stuff. He's like, I thought that was on you to get the test. And I'm like, well, I was waiting on the lawyers to tell me a direction because the last I heard, your lawyer said that y'all are not conceding to the test that's already been done. So I said, would you agree to meet with me in Aurora and take a test? I'll pay for it, but can you come to me to do this?
Yeah.
And he said, I agree to that. That sounds fair. The way he said it to me, it makes complete sense. He's like, I don't want to sign over my rights because what happens if there's a sliver of a chance? I could respect that. Like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, I can respect that too.
We might have lunch. We hadn't talked in 6 months.
But regardless, there is no reason for Gypsy to contact Ryan whatsoever. Like, at all. The only conversations that should be had should be between the two attorneys. They are divorced. But of course, Gypsy, when she's talking to Rod and Christy, she's gonna start it out that way to make it seem like, oh, it's totally innocent, like she hasn't been probably communicating with Ryan for weeks. Like, oh, I just called him out of the blue to touch base and see, like, if he'd be willing, and then, of course, maybe it'll progress to lunch, and, you know, I'm gonna rub this baby that's not his in his face a little bit, and, you know, pulling his heartstrings as I'm doing all this and that. Like, that is Ken's child. Like, why in the world, in what planet would a man be okay with you taking his child to go see another man that you left, that is your ex, to what? What is the point? Nobody would be okay with that. Literally nobody. And the fact that she can't even, I don't even think she probably considered whether or not Ken would like it or not. She probably is well aware that it would make Ken mad, but that's where she gets her joy, from both of them fighting over her and both of them getting jealous.
A segue into maybe a potential friendship later on down the road. In
Might be a
time,
long
it might be a long time,
but-
but the conversation that we had was civil and caring. And
I don't think it's a good idea.
To be
What,
friends?
to be friends? You don't think you could ever be friends?
No.
Would you want to?
I missed the friendship that we had before we got together as a couple, and that was years and years and years ago.
I just imagine,
Sometimes
okay,
you
you and
gotta let
Ken,
things
the other
go.
one, you and Ken's kind of having a little tiff or just whatever, and you know, I'm not here to talk to him. Ryan's there to talk to, and then you start giving him emotional
Like,
Yeah.
currency where you start, you know, needing that or whatever. You know, I mean, that's just going to create a crack or
and
something that's.
you can just be so
need
pissed
to
off and call
get
him
that.
There are times that I feel like when I am not understood by Ken or by my parents, he understands.
All of the alarms are going off in Rod's head like, Gypsy, what are you even thinking? How, on what planet or dimension could this ever be a good idea for you to go meet with Ryan and start having lunch with him? Just to prove that he's not the father. What? And Christy, why are you agreeing that they could be friends? You hated Ryan. Why are you pro-friendship now? As if you weren't one of the reasons that they broke up. Gypsy doesn't care about crossing lines or blurring lines because she totally disregards all lines in a relationship. And she doesn't care about disrespecting the father of her child. She doesn't care about disrespecting her husband. She doesn't care about any of it. And she never did, and she never will. And out of nowhere, Ryan's totally in tune with Gypsy. Oh, Ryan knows how to understand Gypsy on a level that no one else does. But yet, a few months ago, Gypsy was talking about how Ryan didn't get her, how it was so natural with Ken, and they don't even have to say anything, and Ken just gets her in a way like no one else has. They're two pieces of the same puzzle. Blah, 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 blah. But now it's like, gets me more than anybody. But that's not what you were saying. That's why you left him.
The baby's adorable, but it's so young. I mean, it's only a week old right there. And then, let's see, this was the next picture I got. Was her a little older, you know, sprawled out. But, you know, what's funny is she sent me a glamour shot before the picture, which I thought was odd. So before the picture of the baby, she sent me that, just to be like, hey, look at me.
how did you feel when you saw the picture?
I mean, she always looks good to me. Like, you know, she's beautiful. And it's starting to get more features. And like this picture, I was kind of like, might be, you know, like I thought maybe, you know, like,
Might be what?
might be mine. Like, I don't know, just, I noticed the dimple right here. Then when we were talking, she sent me that picture. That one made me melt. That's the one where I just was like, this is so unfair. Like, I told her, I was like, I wish I could lay next to that every morning, you know, because I love Gypsy sleepy like that. She knows that. And then the baby's all curled up. I said, I wish I was there nuzzling next to her. Like I said, Aurora must be an Anderson because she's doing what I would have done, you know, just joking. And then of course she sent me a glamour shot that night.
I don't know what she's sitting there thinking, sending photos of Ken's child to Ryan. That is another man's child. Why are you sending him photos of your child and you in bed with that child? She's fishing for compliments. She's just looking for Ryan's adoration and admiration. He's very, very good, I guess, at, you know, showering her with love and affection, and that's what she liked about him. He boosted her ego, but he wasn't good enough publicly to be seen with in Gypsy's eyes. She's too beautiful and amazing, but she'll take the compliments and the love and admiration just privately, right? But Ryan's also out of line, sitting there talking like, oh, I'd love to be snuggling with you and the baby. I'd love to be there. You know, my favorite Gypsy is her sleeping or whatever. That is weird. You're crossing a line. You know she's with Ken. What are you doing? Wake up, dude. Like, you know that's not your kid. You know it. She planned it. She's playing you, which obviously he came to his senses when he started watching the season and saw that Gypsy just considered him, you know, a member of the public. So that's why it hurt him so bad, because over the past few months, which Ryan had been very quiet on social media. He hadn't been on social media like at all for the longest time, probably because he was talking to Gypsy behind Ken's back. And he knew that, and he's cool with doing it just right back to Ken. As much as it hurt him when it happened to him, he's cool with doing it back, knowing that Gypsy's playing him for a fool. So Gypsy's sitting there in her non-apology, acting like, oh, it was just after 2 weeks, I had the baby, and I was hormonal, and I spoke to him like making it out to be like a one-time thing, and I poured my heart out and was just not, you know, I don't know what was happening. I didn't know what I was feeling. My whole world changed. But she was talking to him on the day the baby was born and for months after, clearly sending him pictures of herself at the Post Malone concert. Barren, like her chest is showing. Clearly, she's cheating on him. And I can imagine that's why she didn't decide to go live during this episode. I bet there's some things that Ken didn't really realize was happening playing out in this episode.
Gave me an ultimatum that if I was going to meet with Ryan, he would move back to Texas and file for custody.
We're dragging Aurora through the mud on this when she doesn't need to be. If she really wanted to go have this closure meeting, Aurora's not going to be there.
Ryan's ultimatum to me was either meet with me or she stays in Anderson forever. Does he have a right to her or not?
I'll catch a charge for my kid, that's for sure.
Let's just all calm down, okay? We can all be civil and be adults about this.
The options you have are twofold. Either we can have a formal hearing, or we can do what we've been discussing, which is the third-party acknowledgement. All you gotta do is go take a test.
Do what we gotta do. Who knows? Maybe the baby will stay Anderson forever if I'm at that. I'm here for a DNA test.
Open what?
In life, do you ever get endings?
Hi there.
How are you?
Good, how's it going?
Good.
The end of the episode showing a sneak peek for next week. Ken is basically saying he's not scared to catch a charge for his child. Threatens to take custody of Aurora away from Gypsy should she show up to that meeting with Ryan because she totally disrespected him. Good for Ken for standing up for himself, but I guarantee you, which we'll probably have to see it play out on the next episode, probably triggered something in her mind to where she's already setting Ken up should a moment ever come where she pushes him too far and he tries to take custody of that child. I guarantee there's going to be some abuse allegations. She's going to be setting him up. We already saw that she reposted something on TikTok the other day about narcissistic abuse or whatever. She'll be setting him up so that way Ken can't get custody. Weaponize the child against Ken, as we pretty much anticipate to happen because that's who she is. We can see that even in the older episodes where she's like, oh, she can be named Blanchard. You don't have to be a part of her life. You know, I'm not trying to force you to do anything. She would take that kid so fast it would not even be funny. And both of these guys are totally goofy, acting like she wouldn't do it. Everything that they didn't think she was capable of doing, she's totally capable of doing, and she's done. So wake up, Ken. Protect yourself, protect your child, because you're gonna get played. Clearly, you already are. But that was pretty much the episode. Let me know what you guys thought of this one. Do you think Gypsy was actually struggling with postpartum, or do you think it was just an excuse because she doesn't actually care about her baby? I'm kind of leaning more towards that, and she just didn't really think that she had to put in actual work and effort into raising a child, and is struggling with the fact that the attention's going away from her. What do you think about the whole conversations with Ryan Anderson for months? Let me know your thoughts down below. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video to help support me and my channel. Make sure your notifications are turned on, you know, all of the things. And again, thank you to each of you that have given me a super thanks or done anything to help support me and my channel. I will see you guys next time. Bye.